Hello Bookish friends, welcome to my December wrap-up part 1. In this video, I will talk about the 6 works that I finished in the first half of December. And I read 5 of those works for the Christie's Missing Readathon that I co-hosted with Rachael and Naomi. So this video will also be the wrap-up for the Christie's Missing Readathon. Like I did in my previous wrap-ups, I will insert the clips that I've recorded very soon after I finish the works. Today is the 4th of December and I finished my first book for the month, which was the book that I was bud reading with Amy at Zobeck. The 14th book in the Bed Stakes series, The Vampire with the Dragon Tattoo. I have been reading this series with Amy and we are both enjoying this very fun series. In this book, we follow Dougal, another secondary character in the previous books of the series. And Dougal has been injured in, I think, 3 books prior to this one and has lost his hand in a battle. And he is trying to adjust to this new situation and really wants to be useful like he was in the beginning. When they discover a warrior who's sort of like in a comatose state, vampire community bring a scientist, Leia, to learn more about the DNA of this captive soldier. And when Dougal meets Leia, an instant attraction happens and Dougal falls in love hard with Leia after the death of his first love 300 years ago. I really did like the first half of this book very much. I thought the chemistry between the couple was very good. And I also was quite interested in the structure of the big battle, which happens in every book. However, the implementation of the action scenes was just fine. And I also really did not like the ending of the book. Without giving spoilers, I can say that I felt like the author really chose the easy way to resolve some of the issues. But like every book that we read, I really did enjoy exchanging ideas with Amy. I still cannot believe we only have 2 books left in the series. But of course, we are planning more buddy reads together. Anyway, I gave The Vampire with Dragon Tattoo by Kerrelyn Sparks a 7 out of 10. Today is the 5th of December and yesterday evening at the late hours, I finished the first work that I was reading for the Christie's Missing Readathon, which is a play, Love from a Stranger by Frank Vosper. This play is an author's adaptation of Agatha Christie's short story, The Flammable Cottage. I read this play for the prompt of play or short story in our readathon. In this play, a young woman, Cecilia, who has been engaged for a while, decides that she does not really want to marry her fiancé. Instead, have adventures and see the world. And on the day that she asks her fiancé to either postpone the wedding or to cancel it, she meets a very attractive stranger who makes her feel things that she has not felt before and quickly becomes attached to him. But after a while, she wonders if she can trust this man that she loves very much. At the Flammable Cottage, I think last summer, I really liked the short story and it's quite surprising twist ending. And I remember thinking that the story was written very well. This play is quite a faithful adaptation of the story. However, I have to say I found the writing to be very simple. I was, of course, not expecting something as genius as, for example, Oscar Wilde, but I was certainly expecting more because I think the quality of the mystery deserves at least some kind of symbolic writing. But I have to admit it had a good tempo and focused on the integral parts of the story. And of course, the mystery is really good. So I gave Love from a Stranger by Frank Vosper a 7 out of 10. Today is the 6th of December and I finished my second book that I was reading for Christie's Missing Readathon. which was actually the group read for our readathon, The Murder at the Vicarage. However, I read the Turkish edition, which was titled Ölüm, Çığlığı, which is a very, very different title, a scream of death. Aside from the title, the translation was quite good actually. This book features Miss Marple for the first time, and it takes place in her own village, St. Mary's Mead, and a very unlikable person, Mr. Pratero, is murdered in the study of the town's vicar, and two separate suspects do come forward and confess to killing Mr. Pratero. However, the detectives and Miss Marple do find out that there is more to this murder than the confessions. According to Miss Marple, there are 9 very likely suspects who had the motive to kill this unlikable old man. This was the third time that I was reading this book, so I decided to read the Turkish translation this time. Although I remember the solution to the mystery, the way that Agatha Christie writes really absorbs you into the mystery. And it was the case again this time. Although I really do like Miss Marple, I have to say Miss Marple is much more charming in her later books. She's a bit arrogant in this one. Maybe she deserves this because she's the most clever person in the situation. It is always great to read an old favorite. So I did not change my rating and gave Murder at the Vicarage, Ölüm, Çığlığı by Agatha Christie an 8 out of 10. Today is the 10th of December, and I finished the book that I was reading for the Christiesmissing Readathon. This was the third book that I was reading for the Readathon, and I read this book for the prompt of a book that was mentioned by Agatha Christie, Ask a Policeman by the Detection Club. The reason that I chose this book for the prompt was that the preface of this book was written by Agatha Christie, and the essay that she wrote talks about the detectives featured in this book, as well as some other ones. The book has a very interesting premise. Although it is a novel, it is a contribution of 6 different authors belonging to the Detection Club. The title is proposed by Millward Kennedy. John wrote, plotted the murder and provided the suspects. Dennis Mitchell, Helen Simpson, Dorothy Sayers, and Anthony Berkeley wrote the sections about the detective from different authors. For example, Anthony Berkeley wrote the section of Lord Peter Wimsey, and Dorothy Sayers wrote the section of Roger Sheringham. And the book ends with the likely solution using the deductions and observations of each of the 4 detectives. And in this book, Mrs. Bradley, Sir John Suamare, Lord Peter Wimsey, and Roger Sheringham are asked to solve the murder of Lord Comstock, because one of the suspects is a police officer, and the police need impartial people to investigate the crime. This book was a very, very interesting reading experience, like the previous book that I read from the Detection Club. Though the beginning of the book is the same for every author, it was very, very fascinating how different authors came up with different murder methods and also different solutions to the murder. And it was also extra fun. Read the adventures of a detective from a completely different author. And of course the final section, using all of the extra clues and investigations by 4 of the authors, was the most interesting section. However, maybe we had to go through the investigation and listen to the suspects 4 times in a row. The tempo of the book was quite low than a regular whodunit, and I gave Ask a Policeman by the Detection Club a 7 out of 10. Today is the 12th of December, and I finished another book today. However, before talking about that book, I want to talk about last night. At the beginning of the month, just 2 days before the Christiesmissing Readathon started, I saw the advertisement of the play Murder on the Orient Express, which was of course adapted from one of Agatha Christie's most famous novels. The date was 11th of December, just a couple of days before the end of the readathon. So I saw it as a sign and decided to buy the ticket. And last night I went to the theater and saw the play. It was actually the first time that this play was staged on Turkey. It was translated very recently. I thought it was a very good adaptation of the novel. Also a very good translation as well. Overall, the mystery and of course the plot twist was kept in the play. However, of course, it had to be figured out much more easily and much more quickly, of course. But all the most important clues were there. So the thrill of finding out the killer was of course present in the play. But additionally, I think it had a more emotional touch than the original book. And I think it worked really well in a stage play. Because of course theater has to be more dramatic than usual. In order not to give spoilers, I will just say that the dramatic part was in the end. The star of the play was the actor playing Hercule Poirot. It was really good, giving all of the eccentricities of Poirot while also being very sympathetic. I'm kind of guessing that the actor studied the acting of David Suchet, and the remaining cast was also quite good. Seeing this play will be one of the highlights of the readathon for me. And the book that I finished this morning was a reread, that on the Nile by Agatha Christie. Of course, I also read this book for the Christie's Missing Readathon for the prompt of mystery not set in England. This mystery is set on the river Nile and mostly on Egypt. It additionally features the detective that I'm leading the team of, Colleen Race. This was, I think, the third time that I'm reading this book, but I do not remember much about my first read. I think I read it more than 30 years ago. When I read the book many years ago, I thought it was a very good mystery and an excellent character study. Upon a reread, I still think the same, but like I mentioned in the video that I recorded, rereading Agatha Christie, knowing the solution of the mystery is a delight. And in this book, I also noticed many of the plot clues about the solution of the mystery. I additionally looked at the relationship between Hercule Poirot and Colleen Race, how they approach things very differently. However, they have a mutual respect for each other's professionalism, which worked really well, especially for this mystery. Last but not least, I have to say, after watching 1978 adaptation, I cannot imagine anyone but Angela Lansbury for the character of Mrs. Otterburn. This reread made me concentrate on the great details of this book. That, of course, changed my rating and gave Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie a 9 out of 10. Today is the 13th of December and I finished the last book that I was reading for the Christie's Missing Readathon for the prompt of a book inspired by Agatha Christie. And I read Murder Takes the Stage by Colleen Cambridge. In this fourth book in the series, clearly inspired by Agatha Christie, our main character is Fleda Bright. She becomes sort of like a amateur investigator after discovering the identity of the killer in the first book, Murder at Mellon Hall, which happened in Mellon Hall, the home of Agatha Christie. In this book, she is called upon action when an actor is found dead on the stage. Although that death was accidental, she finds herself in a situation where she is faced with a killer who seems to have chosen the victims according to alliterations in their initials, places, the stages that they are murdered, and also the way that the murder happens. And the media calls the killer the alphabet killer. Fleda goes undercover as a journalist with the help of her sidekick and love interest, the chauffeur Bradford. I think this series is the definition of a guilty pleasure for me. I'm loving the characters in this series, and I've grown to know more about them with each book. And the romance between Fleda and Bradford is one of the best slow burn romances that I have read in a series. I have to admit that I had a big crush on Bradford when I was reading the book. But it was not just that very cute romance that kept me hooked. The mystery was also very decent, although it was very clearly inspired by the ABC murders. I'm glad that it took a different path of its own after the initial setup. So I read this book with a smile on my face all the time, and I gave Murder Takes the Stage by Colleen Cambridge a 9 out of 10. I cannot wait for the next book to come out. So those were the 6 works that I finished in the first half of December. Please comment down below, have you read any of the books that I've mentioned in this video? And also, did you join the Christie's Missing Readathon? If you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, I'm going to choose ask. Ask means sormak in Turkish, and sormak is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.